Board meeting for December 16th, 2021. Everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will try to make sure I speak loudly into the microphone. If you can't hear me, please let me know. Okay, our agenda this evening is as follows. Number one, Galavan, minor subdivision. Applicant seeks minor subdivision approval to create 3 new lots containing 14.05 acres, 12.43 acres, and 1 acre on property located at 159 Deep Keel Road. Sean Galavan is the applicant. A public hearing will commence at 7 p.m. Number 2, Tilson Technology, special use permit and site plan. Applicant seeks to add 1 carrier to the existing cell antenna array on the Gilead Lutheran Church located at 308 Brick Church Road. Say that quick about 5 times. Tilson Technology Management Incorporated is the applicant. A public hearing to commence at 7 p.m. or as soon after as may be heard. Number 3, Borrego Solar, special use permit and site plan. Applicant seeks construction of a 5 megawatt solar array and gravel maintenance access road on property located at 308 Brick Church Road. Borrego Solar is the applicant. Number 4, McClurg, waiver of subdivision. Applicant seeks to subdivide 2.183 acres from property located at 232 South Road and transfer to property located at 206 South Road. Todd McClurg is the applicant. Number 5, Armstrong, waiver of subdivision. Applicant seeks to subdivide 2.19 acres from property located at 65 Wager Lane and transfer it to property located off Plank Road. Kerry Armstrong is the applicant. Number 6, Tangredi, waiver of subdivision. Applicant seeks to subdivide 4.96 acres from property located at 15 Eagle Ridge and transfer to property located at 310 Menenshaw Lane. Charles Tangredi is the applicant. And number 7, Vickers, waiver of subdivision. Applicant seeks approval for a building lot for property located on Krieger Lane. Michael Vickers is the applicant. As previously stated, there's 2 public hearings tonight. Before I get into the procedure of public hearings, I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that this is the planning board. This is not the town board. It is not the zoning board of appeals. Our meetings are conducted where public input and interested parties can hear or be heard at our public hearings. They are not necessarily allowed to speak at the regular meetings. Our regular meetings are business meetings with the applicant. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that this public hearing is your opportunity to talk and speak, and you will be heard. So with that being said, I will read the procedure for the public hearings, and this will pertain to both public hearings. The purpose of the public hearing is to hear concerns, comments, and views from the general public regarding a particular proposal or application. All public hearings are electronically recorded, and a written record of the proceedings is generated. In most cases, This written record is included with the minutes of the planning board regular meeting, which is usually conducted immediately after the public hearing. The applicant will be required to respond to all concerns and comments made at the public hearing, and subsequently, the planning board will consider all concerns and comments when evaluating the application to ensure that the applicant has addressed all the issues in question. The public hearing will be conducted as follows. The notice of public hearing will be read by the planning board attorney. Next, the applicant will give a brief presentation on the proposal and will provide any updates on the application. And this presentation will be directed to the audience. Upon completion of the applicant's remarks, the chairman of the planning board will recognize persons from the public, and these individuals will be allowed to speak and offer their concerns, comments, and views. Since the proceedings of the public hearing are electronically recorded, it is requested all speakers step forward and use the microphone at the podium. All speakers will give their name and address for the record. Tonight, our first public hearing is the Galavan minor subdivision. And I will have the planning board attorney, Andy Gilchrist, read the notice of public hearing.
Notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the planning board of the town of Brunswick at 7 p.m. on Thursday, December 16, 2021, at the Brunswick Town Hall, 336 Town Office Road, Brunswick, New York, 12180, to review a minor subdivision application submitted by Sean Galavan to create 3 lots containing 14.05 acres, 12.43 acres, and 1 acre on property located at 159 Deep Kill Road. Copies of the application and supporting documents are available at the Brunswick Town Hall and are available for public inspection during regular business hours. All interested persons will be heard at the public hearing. This was published in the Troy Record, placed on the town signboard, posted on the town website, and mailed to owners of all properties located within 300 feet of the project site.
Thank you. This time I'll have the applicant come up and give a presentation to the audience and give us any updates on the application.
Good evening. My name is Brian Holbritter. I'm a licensed land surveyor. And my client, Sean Galavan, has asked me to survey this 27.5 acre parcel and prepare a subdivision plan showing 3 proposed building lots. Lot 1 is 14.05 acres and fronts on Deep Kill Road here and is shaped as such. Lot 2 is 12.43 acres and has frontage along Deep Kill Road here, as well as a 50-foot access to utilize the existing driveway on this side. And then a 1 acre lot, lot 3 will be a 1 acre building lot right here on Deep Kill Road. We have submitted plans to Rensselaer County Health Department and have preliminary health department approval for well and septic on all 3 lots. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And now I will open up the floor to anyone who wishes to come up and make any comments, have any concerns.
Where am I supposed to stand?
You're supposed to be at the microphone.
Okay.
Please give your name and address for the record.
Yeah. So this is Melissa Charette.
Melissa, can you please turn and, face the board with
Oh,
looking
turn
at the
this
microphone? Yes.
Give
Stand
him-
behind the podium.
Oh, this
Yeah.
way.
You got it. Yeah,
I'm
we need to be able to hear you.
disorganized.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so my name is Melissa Charest, and I've lived on Meyer Lane for 31 years. and actually lived in the same community for twice that length of time, buying baby calves from both Fred Meyer and sweet corn from Floyd Meyer. The property that you're discussing is Carl Meyer, and I just knew him as a dairy farmer. So the concerns that I have is the classification of the Deep Kill stream. Do we know what that is? The Deep Kill runs all the way through the front of the property. I know that I had to deal because I have adjacent land, and I had to go through a lot of hoops with conservation regarding just a tractor, a pipe for tractor to cross. So I'm wondering about the access there over the stream. So that's one of my concerns. Like I say, I'm not very organized, but I also know that all that property is highly erodible, and there's a considerable amount of wetland there, and the impact to the wildlife. And I know that that's in a really bad turn in the road. So those are my concerns.
Thank you. Just as a comment from the board, these, your questions should be directed to the applicant, and the applicant is required to respond to each one of those comments in writing to the board. So those questions that were just asked will be answered by Mr. Holberg. Do I have anyone else that wishes to come up and say anything? Any more comments? Any concerns? They can be for the applicant, they can be against the applicant. Okay, one more time. Is there anyone who wishes to come up and speak at the public hearing for the Galavan subdivision? Did we receive any written comments
We
or?
received no written or email comments.
Okay. Okay, with that being said then, I don't see a need to make any extensions on the public hearing. So I will make a motion that the public hearing be closed.
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that concludes the public hearing for the Galavan minor subdivision. This application will be discussed first on our agenda of our regular meeting, which will follow shortly after the second public hearing. Okay, our second public hearing is the Tilson Technology Special Use Permit and Site Plan. Once again, I will have the Planning Board Attorney Andy Gilchrist read the notice of public hearing. And it should be noted that Krieger recused himself.
Notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Planning Board of the Town of Brunswick at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as may be heard on Thursday, December 16, 2021, at the Brunswick Town Hall, 336 Town Office Road, Brunswick, New York, 12180, to review a special use permit and site plan application submitted by Tilson Technology Management, Inc. for the addition of one carrier to the existing cell antenna array at the Gilead Lutheran Church on property located at 308 Brick Church Road. Copies of the application and supporting documents are available at the Brunswick Town Hall and are available for public inspection during regular business hours. All interested persons will be heard at the public hearing. This was published in the Troy Record, placed on the town signboard, posted on the town website, and mailed to owners of all properties located within 300 feet of the project site.
Thank you. You have the applicant come up and give a presentation.
Good evening. My name is Heather Carlisle, and I am an employee of Tilson Technology Management. We are representing Dish Wireless. Dish Wireless is proposing they're currently building out their wireless network and are going to be offering 5G wireless services for customers throughout the state. As part of this build out, they are proposing to co-locate 3 panel antennas on the Gilead Church. There are currently 2 carriers on the church, Sprint and T-Mobile. The antennas are going to be painted to match the existing structure, and there's going to be some ground equipment adjacent to the church. There's currently ground equipment there by the other carriers that is enclosed with a fence and some shrubbery. Dish is proposing to match that existing setup with the same fencing, the same shrubbery, and there is a distance of around 9 feet between the 2 ground spaces that is intended to give the opportunity for either carrier to expand in the future. We believe that this conforms with the town's bylaws and is considered a minor personal wireless telecommunications service facility and meets the intent by co-location and utilization of existing structures.
Thank you. And now we'll open up the floor to anyone who wishes to come up and make any comments, express any concerns, views, opinions. Anyone? For those in the audience, this happens occasionally. Nobody has anything to say. So once again, I will ask if anyone who wishes to come up and express their concerns, make any comments on the Tilson Technology special use permit and site plan public hearing. Did we receive any emails or?
Received no emails already.
Okay. Okay, with that being said, then I will make a motion to close the public hearing for the Tilson Technology special use permit and site plan. There's a second for all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that concludes our public hearings for this evening. Now I will open up the general meeting of the planning board for December 16th. And first on our agenda is the review and approval of the minutes held on December 2nd, 2021. I will say that there is one correction that has to be made, which was pointed out to me by the Code Enforcement Office. And that is on the the first paragraph, there's a reference to the draft minutes of October 21st, 2021. And then the motion and second for the approval listed as October 2nd. So that has to be corrected. Other than that, I didn't see any other corrections, additions, or errors. Did anybody else? Okay, hearing none, I will accept a motion to accept the minutes as they were corrected.
I'll second.
There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, first on our agenda is the Galvin minor subdivision. We obviously have had the public hearing. It's been closed. There was several comments made. regarding wetlands and streams. I know this has been covered a little bit, but would you care to comment on those comments at this point?
It's up to the board. I could make brief comments on each one of those tonight, or I can supply comments in writing.
I would suggest that, since you did mention during the public hearing that the applicant would respond in writing, that those be submitted in writing.
So I don't have a problem with that, Chairman. I can.
No, I don't, I think that should be,
Yeah. And then, next time I can go through those as I did with my previous project.
okay.
And, get comments from the board at that time for each one.
Okay. Is there any questions that maybe our engineer at this point may have, or somebody on the board?
I have a question.
Sure.
That woman that came up to speak earlier mentioned something about a stream. Can you show me where that is?
I sure can. The stream comes out of this pond. There's an existing culvert, comes out of this pond, and then the stream makes its way down around here, down through here, through a big culvert here, and then out of the property to the north, and ends up in the deep culvert here.
Just for the record, where would her property be located?
Myers Lane is up around the corner, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think she backs you up.
She's back in,
Is that her right there?
this is Decatur,
Okay, well, she's behind Decatur.
on the other side of Decatur, I believe.
So that stream meanders up through.
Ends
the-
up going through her farm, yes.
Okay,
On the edge of it, but it does.
okay, did that answer your question?
Yep.
Wayne, do you have any additional questions?
I have no additional questions, no.
Uh,
That is all Army Corps there, right?
What's that?
That is all Army Corps wetlands.
They are, Army Corps.
That's right. And I think that was her first question.
Yes.
Was it
Yep,
a
Class 1
stream?
technology.
Okay,
It's the Army Corps, not DEC.
all right. She also mentioned about site distance, but those site distances are already on there, I believe, aren't they?
She talked about the corner being tough to see, but our driveways are on the outside of the corner.
Yeah.
So it's best case scenario for us. When you come down the driveways, you can see in both directions very well. It's not like being on the inside of the corner. When you come out, you're trying to look back this way and look back that way.
Okay, all right. So as stated before, you're going to put these comments and responses all in
Correct.
to these comments in writing. And I would assume you would be presenting that at our next meeting.
Absolutely.
So we will put you on the agenda for our next meeting, which is scheduled for January 6th. I believe.
Okay,
All right,
sounds good.
all right.
All right,
Now, will you be, that's a 3-week period, will you be able to get those comments to the code enforcement office,
I think
building
so.
department?
I think so. I think I
Plenty of
can-
time to be distributed?
Yeah, I think, I know we got a couple holidays in there that are gonna mess things up, but,
You work on the holidays, don't you?
I do,
Oh,
I
okay.
do. Yeah, I don't take any time off.
All right.
So I'm gonna get those done, get them to Chuck, and, make sure he's got plenty of time to get them to everyone, so.
Okay,
All right. If it had been a bunch of people, I would say, with a bunch of questions, kind of more like our other project, maybe I would need some more time. But with just one person and just a handful of questions, I don't see a problem.
okay. If there's any issues you have before the minutes are published, Andy, I think, would be able to give you any of the comments.
They'll be out next week.
Okay, great.
All right.
That sounds good. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Brian.
Have great holidays.
Yeah,
Yep,
Merry Christmas.
Take care.
to you. Okay, next on our agenda is the Tilson Technology. And once again, we had the public hearing. There was no comments, but I would assume that some type of letter saying there was no comments to to address, just for the record,
Okay.
would be appreciated.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, why don't you, now, did we get additional material on this, Chuck?
No.
Okay, there's nothing in that
One of the
pile.
few in this meeting that didn't have additional material. Thank you for that.
Okay. All right, you're up.
Yeah, so as we discussed last time, we are just proposing the 3 panel antennas. I know that there were a couple of questions from Ms. Stancliffe. I did receive confirmation that this is 5G. And with respect to the other carriers, Sprint and T-Mobile are currently on the steeple area, bell tower. And then with respect to the ground equipment, the reason why that they were leaving a little bit of space in between the two areas was just to allow for future expansion. Obviously, having to come back before the board for approval to do that, but I think they just didn't want things totally flush against one another. And I believe that those were the only questions that came up previously, but I'm happy to answer any other ones.
We pretty well covered a lot of the visuals and everything else that we were requesting. I don't have any additional questions. Does anyone on the board? From an engineering perspective, are all the questions answered? Wayne, that you may have had?
The application was pretty comprehensive. They did submit a structural evaluation of the building to see if it could support the loading from the additional antennas, stamped by a structural engineer. And he indicates that the structure can support the additional antennas and the loading from those. That's mostly what my concerns are, you know. There's not a lot of other disturbance going on, just where the equipment is going. All that looks to be good. So I don't have any other comments.
Okay.
I did have one question about how the cable routing goes from the equipment to the steeple.
So it's running internally through the attic. And then,
So it runs underground and then enters the building and up through the structure to the attic.
yeah, I'm just trying to see if it's. Yeah, so it runs underground from the equipment pad, and then it goes up internally in the building through the attic across the top to get to the antennas in the front of the building.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions? Andy, procedurally, could we move forward on this?
You can this evening. The public hearing's been held. We'll note for the record that the application was forwarded to the county planning department. They have responded by saying that the proposal does not conflict with county plans and local consideration shall prevail.
I remember seeing that. You got a copy of that in our packet, is that correct?
Correct.
You should. Yep, okay. All right, then I guess you're all set. This would be for the special use permit and site plan. We do those all in one motion,
You should do separate motions.
separate motions?
Yes.
Okay. And for the special use permit, I will entertain a seeker determination on that.
The seeker determination would cover the entire action, but there should be separate motions when you do act on the special use permit and then the site plan as their separate applications.
Okay, thank you. And we'll do the seeker determination on both the special use permit and the site plan. Somebody like to make that,
I'll make a motion for a negative declaration.
okay? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now on a motion for the special use permit. In both cases, I would ask that at least a written acknowledgement of the public hearing that there was no comments, and that, would that be,
We'll note that in the minutes.
okay. Okay, then,
Because Lane's concerned with that structure. Is that
I don't think there has to be any conditions on the structure. They provided information that says that the structure is adequate to handle the additional load of the antennas.
any other comments on special conditions? Then I'll entertain a motion for approval of special use permit. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now on a proposal on the site plan. Is there any conditions that anybody wishes to put on any type of proposal? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the site plan.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan.
Okay. Do I have a second?
that's it?
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're all set.
Right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a nice holiday.
Thank you.
Okay, third on our agenda is the Borrego Solar Special Use Permit and Site Plan. And we have a proposal here. Linda?
Good evening. First, my name is Travis. I'm from Creighton Manning on behalf of the applicant Borrego. Borrego did have intentions of sending a representative. However, he voluntarily entered COVID protocol, so I'm going to do the best to answer anything that they typically address during meetings of this sort and try to be efficient in doing that. So I'm here to discuss the solar project at the 308 Brook Church Road. It's the site of the Gilead Church. As you know from our initial discussion, it's a 5 megawatt AC solar farm with about 10,500 panels. The parcel is 35.4 acres and currently zoned business light overlay, and also in the agricultural overlay district and also zone agricultural district. The project is entirely located within that agricultural district, so it is not spilling over into the business light overlay. I should note that subsequent to our entire package that was submitted to get us on the board, we did deliver a visual assessment and also a glare study today. That was sent in advance in a PDF. We didn't get that till early this week, and that was one of the two of the requested items from the initial discussion. So you should have those packets on your desk or your sitting area. Really, since the last time we discussed, there were only two minor changes to the plans. Based upon the glare study that we received, we anticipated that there'd be two areas of impact that we will need to provide additional screening. On this site plan, there is a sensitive area for glare for this residence. So you'll see some added vegetated screening here. That type of vegetated screening hasn't been designated yet, so that information will be forthcoming. The other information, actually it's not showing on this plan, is we received updated survey and local along this area here. That was deficient on the plan set based upon the topography and the boundary survey provided by Borrego's contracted survey. To go back to the other sensitive area for the glare, there is a view here from the state police looking up this way that gets a little bit of glare. Landscaping has not been added to that because the proposed location is actually on their property. So there's some further discussion to be had for that. So all of that info is contained within that glare study provided by Barrett Energy Resources. Going to attempt to summarize what was provided to me by Borrego's representative. Yes.
The house to the west of the Troopers Barracks, that one doesn't come up with a glare problem.
According to the study, no.
It looks like it looks right in.
So,
It looks like it looks right into the field.
yeah,
Mad,
according to the study, and pardon me, because I don't do these, this is not my repertoire, but according to the study, they all come up as receiving glare, but the analysis that's conducted cannot take into effect the terrain or the existing vegetation. So once you add those two factors into the study for the analysis, those areas drop out. May not be answering that clearly, but again, I'm not.
I know that corner pretty well, and that house looks right into that side hill there.
So that would be, according to the study, that would be photo location 8 in the Barrett Energy Resource is what I'm gathering. So
I didn't read this whole thing, to be honest with you.
it was received, and I did contact Wendy to see if she even wanted us to send this in, because that's not typically what I do. I don't like to give information to the planning board a day or two beforehand, because I don't get a chance to fully read it. You guys don't get a chance to fully read it. So she thought it would be best to do that. So that's what I opted to do. So if there are,
I do have a question with the glare study. And you may be able to answer this. But if you were, from what I can tell, if you're coming east on Route 7, that road turns. No,
That's 278.
oh, I'm looking at the wrong road. Here we go.
If you go down there towards Troy, the west, that way, down there, and you're coming in that direction, you can see that field that the solar array is going to be on. What type of glare is anticipated, or if any, to oncoming, cars and trucks, drivers, as they travel east and approach that intersection?
So I think that correlates to figure number 9 on page 10, receptor number 6. Motor vehicle traveling north on Hoosier Street. It's, according to the site of analysis, it's noting, the report's noting there's existing vegetation between the receptor and the solar project. Now, again, I did not prepare this study. That's not, but I do know the location you're speaking of.
One of the things that has come to my attention with this solar project is that this is really the closest one that I think we have that, you can actually see from either Route 7 or Route 2 as you go by.
278.
And 278. I mean, there's other fields that are obviously obscured and out of sight of people traveling on those roads. And to be honest with you, I think you're going to have some push on that at a public hearing.
Understood.
And I think you probably anticipate that. But this is definitely into now an area of concern that I think the residents are going to be very vocal about. So, I mean, I'm just, that's more of a personal opinion, but based on my experience here on the board and with the projects that we've had before, and Borrego has had several projects
Correct.
with us, so, I mean, we're used to dealing with, with you people, and it's not a big, concern that way, but this is definitely putting it smack dab right out on the
It's a
public
different
side.
flavor, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the project developer and Borrego's executive management are aware of that. They were informed of our last conversation, our last discussion. So ultimately, I can take this information and your forthcoming comments and send it along, and they can process and digest how to proceed.
okay.
I have a question on glare. Is it more apt to happen in the daylight, sundown, where your source of light is at a low angle?
Yes. Yes, that's my understanding.
With the glare, as you explained over in the one corner, and what would be the southwest or west, yes, that would be mainly in that your collectors are facing due south. That would be in the east. So your sun coming up in the east would you have a glare at that time?
Correct.
For that site.
7 to 9.
Of course, and all that changes with the angle of the sun and the seasons.
Yes. So I happen to flip to figure 12, which is focusing on this area here by the state police. There's a 20-minute window around 7 o'clock from May to July where that glare is an issue. I guess issue's very kind of cursed, but glare is a concern. That's without supplemental landscaping. And the reason the report mentions full landscaping here is because of the topography rise here, that you need 300 foot.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
It would be more closer to reduce that angle of sight.
Do these glare studies go into aircraft
Oh, yeah,
situations?
yeah, that's right here.
Okay.
The first Borrego farm did.
I believe they do. There's a.
Yeah. It was just pointed out that,
I think it's telling the solar. There's an FAA solar policy.
okay.
I have a number of questions.
That's what.
On page, sorry, on page, let's see if I'm on. On page 4, page 4. You mentioned that you're gonna have a tilt angle of 25 degrees and an azimuth of 180. So this array is basically gonna face south. That's 180.
25 degrees is the tilt angle, yes.
And 180 is your azimuth.
Azimuth, yes.
So you're facing south.
The-
So
Um,
this is one question I have. I believe that well, I know that your study talks about morning glare. I believe that the majority of the glare that you're going to experience is going to be in the afternoon with the sun shining on the face of these arrays. Now, the other thing I had was that your study assumes that the driver's height above the roadway was set at 5 feet. Well, I know sitting in my car driving up Hoosick Street, my eye level is way below 5 feet. And you also state that a person standing on the property is only 5 feet tall, is the way I'm reading this. So I'm having a little bit of difficulty. Your diagrams here, just pick one. They have a pink area. It looks to me like the topography of the site.
Which one are you referring to?
Well, I'm looking at page 10 right
Oh,
now,
yeah, okay.
figure 8.
Sure. Yes, that's pulled off of
Okay, so
the
this
GPS
diagram shows your panels laying flat on the ground. That's not really what they're gonna look like, is it?
I believe the yellow is the actual 9-foot height panel,
Yellow is what?
the 9-foot high panel. I can request clarification on that, again,
Yeah, I'd
I
like
mean,
to,
like that double line,
yeah.
double line is basically simulates a 9-foot.
If that's not the intent, I can get clarification.
I mean, I'd like a little bit better diagram, I think is what I'm saying. You don't have to make 10 of them, just one of them is fine. And what are these little brown boxes all about in the diagram? There's no legend here for me to go by.
That's noting, several of them are the elevation, actual ground elevation.
Is there
You see
something
a
written in that?
514, a 412. That's
can't
actually,
see
the 412 along the bottom is the distance from the photo location.
Need a magnifying glass.
Yeah, that's difficult to read.
That's difficult to read, I agree.
And what's, above that in the yellow area, there's a red something. What is that?
The red arrow?
Yeah.
That's the location of, that correlates to the location at the bottom.
Location of the,
Would you
See
be
this?
receptive, since I'm not the one that prepared this report?
See this arrow, where is it, here?
yeah,
You go down there, it goes, follows this line down to here. So that's where it is.
oh, I got that. Okay, I didn't understand that.
Yeah, 0.0 is from the receptor point. The arrow correlates to the distance from 0.0 along that graph, is what I'm picking up from that.
Well, I just, I think that I've driven Hoosick Streets my entire life. I'm thinking that the majority of the glare is gonna be in the afternoon, not the morning. I could be wrong, maybe I'm thinking of it incorrectly, but
I can have Borrego follow up and request clarification. I mean, if the afternoon, the way I'm interpreting it, the panels are not facing directly south, according to the original setting, and at least what I see in our AutoCAD drawings. So that may be why the report is indicating that the glare is more focused in the morning.
okay. And if we could answer my question about you only being 5 feet tall, that would be great too.
Yeah, that's a little, yeah.
That's all I had.
Anyone else have any questions? How about you, Wayne?
We're currently reviewing the plans, and I'd like more time to look at the visual. I didn't see a visual EAF in the submittal,
The full EAF?
the visual EAF. The visual assessment.
That, yes, that was submitted, actually, we got that this morning. That was submitted at 6:59 PM today. That was the one that
Then I
I
didn't get it because I was on the road. Well, if you emailed it to me,
I can email it, that's the hard copy.
I set it on your desk, Wayne.
So
in
that was
this
the
pile,
It was handed out right before the meeting.
well, maybe I have it.
That was one of the reports that Wendy sent us to send in PDF and give us hard copies. In the future, would it be best if something is received to hold off until the next submission? That's generally what I do. But
Say that again, I'm sorry.
in the future, instead of submitting something a day or two beforehand, would it make sense to hold off? That's typically what I do, because if you guys have already completed or initiated your review on the materials, for me to go throw 2 reports on top of you the day of.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of stuff here to go through.
In the future, that's
Yeah,
the approach we'll take. One thing to
If I
note,
don't have it, I'll email you.
the client is prepared to submit full grading plan for the road and a full SWIP. They're kind of getting a feel of how this is going, and then that would be initiated on the next.
So you're clearing and grubbing that whole wooded area.
2.5 acres.
Yeah, what, are these contours accurate?
Yes,
How steep is that slope?
26%. So I've been told by their installer, they go up to 30. So obviously with the access road,
They may change their mind
they have a little bit,
because they're running their panels across the contours on those steep slopes.
so the clearing and grubbing will be in this internal part to make area for the solar panel.
that whole area is gonna be
This would be all
gone.
those trees would be gone.
Gone.
The area that would only have trees removed, not grow, would just be internal of the fencing. There's a small portion here in between the actual panel and the fencing that would only be cut down. That's, I think, is 0.1 acres. That's not anything significant comparable to the clearing and internal.
So these visuals that you see here sees
The one
the
prepared
first,
by Labella.
sees the first fields, and now you're gonna say that the woods in the back there are gonna be gone. To
On the
make way
steep
for the second field. Where's the second field? Second field is right there, right?
Yes.
So now flip back on over. Now, that means that they're right there on the edge of that field, which I would assume is the first field. The second field, that whole area is gonna be taken down. Is that correct?
All of the trees internal of the field will be taken down, yes, between the two.
So now,
That's approximately,
how do they get a glare analysis when they can't see, right now, see through that whole thing? I mean, it may be a stupid question, but it seems to me like you really can't give a fair visual assessment of the site or an accurate glare assessment on those, what I'm calling, field B versus field A.
that's where the GPS or the terrain model along the pink is assuming that vegetation is removed.
Okay?
Yeah, they're using the contours of the topography
To do the
to
glare
do the
analysis?
glare analysis and the visual.
All right.
I got another question, Travis, that you have that hammerhead like right in the middle of that steep slope area?
That, yes, that's the access, the fire access, or that's the,
Yeah, that's gonna be a little steep for a fire truck.
yeah, they're aware that they have to do some grading.
There'll be considerable grading there where the road is coming
It's
in
gonna
that
be-
steep slope area into that hammerhead.
This guy right here. That's the area that we just received additional so far.
Yeah, because that hammerhead's right in the treed area now, where that, those slopes are 26%.
We can adjust that, at least,
Yeah, I think you're gonna
I
have
would-
to.
it's 500 feet, I mean, typically 500 feet is the max that the fire district wants to see before.
So there'll be
turn around.
some grading all in through that area where you're clearing and grubbing.
Yes, yes.
And you'll show us proposed grades
There will be.
and contours, and then
Contours, drainage,
you're gonna have to do a full SWIP.
SWIP, soil test. I mean, like typically on these, when you see the gravel access, you do swales, but with a swale that, if it's over 5%, you can't really claim it for water quality, so it might be something that they make a depression down in there, a small stormwater treatment area to collect and treat water for the gravel access. Because solar panels, you don't have to provide attenuation or
Yeah.
treatment for, it's just the pads and your,
What is the length of that road, do you know?
excuse me, because I just had, I think it's 940.
Yeah, you may have to put a pullover or something in there.
So 940 or 740.
You typically ask for a pullover if it's over, what is it, Chuck, 500 feet?
500 still.
Yeah.
In addition to the hammerhead?
Yeah, like halfway into the road so that emergency vehicles can pass each other.
Yes, okay.
So you got a bit of work to do, so.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. I should.
I don't like
They're
to
aware.
get too deep into the review when there's, a significant amount
Yeah, there,
of detail that still has to be provided.
there's grading, there's soil tests there. I mean, the SWIP
Yeah.
is generally the larger component of these.
And you said that
Addressing the concerns.
the poles coming in are gonna be overhead?
They'll be overhead. That's one of the reasons for the area variance that was
Okay.
provided as well.
Has that been into the ZBA yet?
No, that was submitted concurrently with the special use and
Meetings on Monday.
the site
So
plan.
their first meeting with the ZBA is Monday? I have no further comments at this time.
Okay, you had asked what direction the board was going. And that was gonna be one of the factors on where they were gonna go as far as continuing this process. So, off the record, what is your assessment of where do you think this board's going? We've asked a
I
lot of
think there's-
questions and we've got a lot of concerns.
No, I understand. In layman's terms, I'm picking up what you're putting down. And I think Greg, who was here beforehand, understood and was kind of had the same understanding and perception. Unfortunately, their representative is not present tonight, so he would have more answers.
I understand.
if I could-
understand your position.
There is, I'm just looking at some of his notes, how far they've advanced their permitting on their end with National Grid. They received preliminary evaluation and started the coordinated electric system interconnection review with National Grid. And expect results Christmas Eve.
Well, you've given us a lot of material to mull over here. I would like to suggest that you give us an opportunity to go over this, with Wayne, an opportunity to further digest some of the material that you've given us. In particular, the glare studies and the visuals and so forth and so on. My personal opinion is that taking that wooded strip out of there isn't going to help your cause as far as visual and so forth and so on. That's just my personal assessment of that. So I would like an opportunity to further review all this material.
Sink your teeth into it.
And if you wish, we can put you on the agenda for our next meeting, first meeting in January, just to ask further questions and so forth, and supply us with some information.
Sure.
You are going to be meeting with the zoning board of appeals on Monday, is that correct?
I was just notified. That wasn't, so
Is that
I did not
correct?
know that.
The meeting's on the 20th at 6 PM.
And this is a variance for the number of poles?
Yes.
You don't require any more variances. You meet all of the setbacks for the actual position of the panels.
All right.
This is just solely for the poles.
And that's a 6 o'clock meeting?
6 PM on Monday, the 20th.
And we would,
I'm smiling underneath. I have another planning board, so I will follow up. Someone will be here.
so
Okay.
with that also in mind, we'll be able to figure out what direction the zoning board is going in. So at this point, I'll just ask one more time if anybody has any additional questions.
Let's go back to the grading for 1 second. The only grading proposed is for the access road, not for the installation of the panels?
Correct. Since they're up to, their threshold is around 31% for the panels, so unless that grade is above that, they will not be disturbing. Now, I don't know, in order to get that access road in, I don't know what the impact will be, what the envelope, the limit of clearing, or actual disturbance will be for that. They may lose more panels than what they're showing on this, and whether that makes it, whether they've promised or engaged in a certain number of panels, I'm not privy to that information.
So you're gonna show new contours for the access road?
Correct.
Great.
Correct. So one thing to clarify for me, if we're on the agenda for the next meeting, when would you like to see plans showing the updated grading, or should we hold that close until you had a chance to dive into these plans? Because it would kind of,
Well, I think eventually we're going to need grading plans anyway. so-
I mean, as soon as you get the plans updated with the additional survey and the grading, you might as well wait until the SWIP is done, because that's all tied in together.
that's kind of what,
If
And
you,
I
if you
appreciate
want
that
comments, you'd have to submit it a couple of weeks before the meeting,
which
If you don't want comments, you can hand them in a week before.
No,
But
I'd rather have the comments and give you time, guys, give the board time to review and get us the information that's needed, so.
So what are you suggesting? That they hold off and push it to the second meeting in January?
Well, with the holidays and everything going on, I would like to see a full set of plans with a SWIP at least 2 weeks before the meeting, if they're looking for comments from me on it
All
at
right.
that meeting.
Then do you have a problem with us pushing you to the second meeting in January, provided you have all that material to him 2 weeks prior to that meeting?
Time-wise, I'm jumping for joy if you're giving me extra time. So I accept that.
All right.
I will, because I would not be able to get plans turned around for that first meeting with the holiday and.
Okay. Then, that second meeting in January, I believe is on the 20th. Is that correct?
I am looking right now.
Such a
That's
Thursday.
correct. The 20th.
I gotta agree with you.
So we will put you on the
Yes, it is.
agenda for the 20th. And that is provided that our engineer gets the information he needs.
Yeah, if you have everything to me by the first week in January, that's plenty of time for me to get things reviewed with a letter back to you for the next meeting. If you get them sooner, the better. But I know, even,
We have to
It won't be sooner with the holiday. Sorry.
no,
You know, a public hearing is required, so the sooner we get all this material in line, it's to your advantage.
Just for clarification, what you are calling the visual EAF is this portion of the,
I believe it's the labella, the labella.
yes, all right.
Yeah.
So on the backside of the Barrett was the top section. These are two different things that were together.
Yes.
yeah, but I still don't see a visual EAF. I don't see,
Yeah, I
the
think it's in the
checklist.
nomenclature of what, what we are used to as an EAF and
it's in there, but it
What
doesn't look
Travis
like
is.
one.
so the second part of this is labeled labella.
So this is not what. the labella,
No,
Not the Barrett, the labella.
What Labella submitted is what
It
amounts
is.
to a visual assessment report.
Yeah.
There is a visual
Yeah,
addendum to the environmental
Yeah.
assessment form that Wayne's
Okay.
looking for.
thank you.
Yeah, which is not here.
All right?
I'll show you what it looks like. There's one in the previous application. for the
I'll follow up with Grego.
Yeah, he knows.
Do you have any additional questions for us?
No, I do not.
If not, we'll see you on the 20th,
Thank you.
and have a nice holiday.
You as well. Thank you.
Okay? Somebody round up Linda and wake them up. The next on our agenda is McClure.
They're gonna change it. I can't stay that way.
Is anyone here for that waiver of subdivision?
That way, was it?
Which one are you looking for? McClure, right?
Yeah. Clerk?
You can do Armstrong.
Well, I'll see what Chuck has to say on that. You're Armstrong, aren't you?
Yes.
Anybody for Tangrini? This is the second time for Tangrini. He didn't show up the last time. Before we proceed here, Chuck, we have some questions. McClure, did they indicate to you that they were going to be here or not?
McClurg and the East Estabrook, we have not received the letter of consent from Mr. Estabrook or Mr. McClurg to act on his behalf. That letter has not been received yet.
Okay,
So they are going to, hopefully, they were both, Mr. Estabrook especially, was quite sick, hospitalized. And he's just starting to get out and about now. So when he did see him, I think it was over the weekend, he saw Mr. McClurg and he said, I still owe you that letter. So he will probably get the letter sometime and Mr. McClurg is going to give me a call and he has received the letter, and we'll get him on the agenda tomorrow.
All right, then we are just gonna,
And as with, and we're talking about cancellations, Mr. Tangrady is working with his lawyer for some things that have to be done with his waiver. So he too is not on the schedule for the next, or he is on the schedule, but will not be in attendance.
okay, let's talk about McClure. What do we want to do? Just take them off the agenda until further notice?
I think that's appropriate, adjourn without date until it gets submitted.
Okay, Armstrong.
Mr. Armstrong is here.
He is here, waiver of subdivision.
I heard the last meeting, had the survey updated to show 50-foot of road frontage.
Yeah, you gave us a new map, I believe, to have access. Let's take a look at it. Everybody, I assume everybody got that in the packet? We'll take a look at it. Do you have any problems with that?
No, I actually have, if you wanted another conveyance letter, because it went up from 2.19 to 2.29. So I do have a letter I give you that he signed again today, if you needed that. I don't know if you did.
No, I think we do need that.
Okay.
Just for the record, because it is an addition to the law. You have just one copy? We can-
I just have a copy of it, but it's,
Okay.
I just,
Anyway, who's doing that? We'll take a look at this. Just addressing the board, as everybody remembers, there was a lot didn't have clear access to Wager Road as it was built by use, and it basically stopped pretty much at the T intersection there. So we asked the applicant whether they could extend a little corridor to the road to make it a legal lot, because it did not, as it was first presented, have its own access to a public road.
took your advice. We went 30 feet out and all the way out to Lower Deeming is the end of the road is that 2-acre driveway comes out. And they definitely plowed that, probably passed it a little bit. So as you can see, they had some markers.
Okay. And this lines up sort of with Andy, with the right of way of the road.
Correct.
Okay, so that's fine, right?
That is fine.
Okay.
What's the width? Let's see. Oh, it looks like it's 30 feet, right?
Yeah.
Going down?
Yep.
And Wayne, just a quick scale, that looks to be about 2/3 of road frontage, so it's probably 20 feet anyway, right?
I was estimating that.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. And that would be legal. It's a minimum of 15 feet onto the public
Okay.
roadway.
Yeah, it's at least 15 feet.
Okay. So from an engineering perspective, everything is okay.
Yeah, I actually went up and looked at that.
Okay.
The town plows actually beyond that gravel driveway. So
Right.
that is considered the public access.
Thank you. He put your copy back on the chair.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
My question to Andy is, does he have to update his application to indicate the parcel size?
I think we'll note for the record that this is
Thank you.
it's a project amendment to respond to comments of the board, and the minutes will note that the lot size went from 2.19 to 2.29.
Does anybody else have any questions regarding this? Is it clear to everybody that we could probably move forward on this? There's no other questions? And I will entertain a seeker determination. So would you like to do that, please?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Will you make that? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now on the waiver of subdivision.
I'll make the motion for the waiver.
Should we make a note as amended?
Well, you're approving the plat that with the, well, note, last revision date, 12/13/21.
Okay.
And the lot will be merged into the existing lot.
No,
No.
my understanding is this is for a new building lot.
Yeah, this is a new building.
He has a building, he has land on the other side of this power right away. This
Well,
is
what's-
just to access that land.
And combined with.
That's the question I would have, wouldn't that?
It's gonna combine
I don't know
these two.
enough about it. Does it get, it's a line adjustment, but
This
does
is
that
the
land
he needs to get to. and he
get
had no way.
combined into the
The map
25?
says he's gonna combine the two lots.
Yep.
Although the 2.29,
Right above it.
You have 25.76.
The area
We're gonna
map?
Combine this.
Yeah, it becomes a one lot.
Technically.
Yeah.
We're just trying to figure out how to properly phrase that.
Right. Okay.
this is his only access to public highway, right?
Oh, I see. All right, so that, one, we've noted the last revision date. Two then would be the 2.29 acres to be merged with the remaining lands of Armstrong.
And then it dropped something off to the town.
Yes. And when that happens, sir, there will be a deed then that's conveyed into you. The deed then will also recite that it's intended to be merged into your other land. So the deed will be a deed of merger as well, and that copy of that gets filed with the building department.
So yeah, so I'm talking to a real estate lawyer, right? So I
Mhm.
need to work with someone to get this,
Yeah.
so it gets done properly.
Yeah.
And they're stepping me through the process.
You bet. Any questions, have them give Chuck a call.
Okay.
What you'll end up with is this line removed.
Right.
The all one part.
Right. Are you saying I should have that removed in the map or?
In your deed, so this map,
Oh, okay.
this map creates
It's,
the area that is going to be conveyed to
I
you.
got you. Okay.
It will then be combined in your remaining land, so it's all one lot.
Right, right.
And that one combined lot will have frontage on a public road.
Okay.
All right.
But I don't need to do anything with Bill
Not with
Garland
the map. There'll be a condition
Okay.
attached to the approval that indicates this parcel must be merged into your other lands.
Okay.
And proof of that merger filed with the building department for their records.
We'll need a
Okay.
copy of the deed, yeah. But as for the map, we would be able to stamp this.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, that was my next question. Like, so I need 2 stamp maps back eventually? Is that,
Yeah,
so I gotta give them the
what'll
bill?
happen is everybody will hand them to me, we will get them stamped, and then I will get them to you. I have to keep one copy. for
Oh, yeah, I
myself,
only supposedly
And
need,
then you'll get the rest of them, and 2 of them will be need to be filed in the
Just the one
county.
that you got.
Okay.
I'm not certain what agreement you have with Mr. Darling, but at least when they do that for you, if you're going to. do it
Yeah.
yourself.
it's going to do it.
Those are them. Okay. All right, we have to move on this. There's been a motion.
I'll second it with the conditions as noted.
Is there any further discussion on this? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We're all set. We've got the maps, we'll stamp them.
And then Chuck, you just let me know, is that I come?
I'll give you a call, Harry.
Okay, all right, all right, happy holidays, thank you.
You're welcome. Merry Christmas. Jim. Okay, next would be King Woody, and that's off the agenda now. Until further notice. And now we have the Vickers Waiver of Subdivision.
No one is here to represent them. We were going to take a look at this because it is, there's a lot to it. Mr. Vickers has been in front of the board a couple of times, as well as the town board for the increase of the cul-de-sac number. So, I think left it at the last meeting where you folks were going to review it and, I guess, plan on how, a plan of attack, we'll say.
So you gave us a packet of information
With all of the minutes in it.
with all the minutes and everything like that.
Yep.
And based on that, I would have to assume that that is a complete record, correct?
That's all we could find, yes, in all of the minutes and.
Okay. So where does that leave us? I got the impression that this was all approved before. And it was just a matter of it wasn't filed. And now, am I?
No, my recollection is there was zoning board action, there was town board action, but the planning board process was never completed.
It looked to us, going through the record, that Mr. Vickers came to the town board for the increase in the cul-de-sac and thought that that approval was the approval for the entire project. Never came back to the planning board.
And I still need the chance to review that record to determine whether the prior action by the zoning board and the town board remain in effect so that the planning board can consider the waiver
Okay.
application.
All right. So we'll leave it at that. We'll have you,
I'll review that prior to the
Review
next
that.
meeting.
shall we put them on the agenda for our next meeting, January 6th?
Mr. Vickers was up in Vermont getting a hip replacement, and so hopefully he will be good enough to make it to the meeting on the 6th.
Okay.
Or, once Andy gets his review done.
Okay, if there's any issues, let us know. All right. Now that concludes our agenda. Is there any new business?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
We dropped off this morning, or this afternoon, a waiver, I believe that's a waiver for South, or North Lake.
This is for Casey. Okay. You made it sound like there's a problem with this.
I didn't mean it to sound that way, I actually feel very good about it.
I noticed that our good friend and frequent attender of our planning board meetings, Mark Danskin, who takes on the impossible project as
Must be right down towards the city. huh? Mark Chester.
so basically they're just taking the homestead, so to speak, and dividing it off. Is that correct?
Yes.
Create the 2.08 acres out of the remaining 6.56. Is there any issues here that we should be concerned about?
I don't know what the reason for doing this was, and if it is, would be putting in a building lot, there's nothing showing the driveway area.
Is there a well?
And a subsequent line of sight.
Is there public water on this? Let's say that.
In the E40? Well, it says.
Existing house. Water supply.
Okay. I assume, okay, there's the tile field and everything for the septic system. The actual, I don't know if everybody knows, the house is down in the lower right-hand corner. The barn and garage are on the other side, but the septic system is there. Is that too close to the lot line? The new lot line?
Needs to be 10 feet away.
10 feet, and that's obviously 10 feet. Okay. I don't have any other questions. We'll just put them on the agenda. Have Mark come before us at our January meeting, and we'll.
This was the gentleman that was sitting behind you at the town board meeting. And he handed it up to you.
Oh, is this the guy?
He assumed it was the planning board, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Now I remember. Thank you.
Mr. Danskin said, yeah, the meeting's on Thursday.
So we just showed up.
It was just the wrong meeting, or the wrong Thursday.
Yeah, I don't see any problem. And I told him that it was under new business.
Yeah.
And that we would probably review it and then put it on our agenda for our next meeting. So he knows that. So we'll put them on the agenda for the 6th of January. And is there any other?
It's here.
Not to be done.
One behind.
You should have a copy of another Dish wireless packet. This is for the tower at on Hoosick Road, 809 Hoosick Road.
Behind Capcom.
Yep.
You know, you never even see that thing when you drive down the road.
Just lens in the scenery now.
Yeah. Lovely as it is.
I did take a picture. I believe this is going to be, it was hard to get an answer from how many carriers are on this. I think this will be either the 5th or 6th carrier on this tower. But in that, we were just talking in the hallway about the combination of Sprint and Verizon. So what was it, Glenn?
T-Mobile.
And T-Mobile, Sprint T-Mobile. And so in some of these cases, some of the antennas are getting removed because of, I should say, overlap in services of the two carriers.
There's 6 on there.
Did I miss something here? I know I
Yeah, you
got
should
that,
be.
but I can't find it.
I think you gotta dig down a little more, you're right. This should be 809, right? Tilson.
Tilson.
One of these two.
Okay. Right, okay.
Did I find it?
Sorry about that.
this briefly, Andy and I, with the new carrier on.
So, right, there is a special use permit for this tower location. There are a number of carriers on the tower existing. But since this weren't certain whether there are any restrictions on the number of carriers and given the number of users on the tower, that it's appropriate to at least have it reviewed by the planning board through the site plan review process. So that's what's been submitted.
So, yeah,
See,
it's that big one by,
he runs up and down the street all the time.
I didn't even know it was there.
Yeah. You don't even notice it. As ugly as it is, you don't even notice it.
Up behind the car dealerships now.
Simply,
It's a better car. It's in front of the gun shop in the Caribbean
Go get some jerky.
lunch truck. Which is pretty good.
right?
Yeah, he's once a week, probably. He's only open Thursday through Sunday. It's pretty good food.
so this is strictly site plan review. It's an amendment to the site plan.
Yeah, there is an existing site plan approval for the tower, but adding this carrier, again, appropriate to review that and at least for, structural issues, any potential interference issues, and have that reviewed.
Does this need eventually a public hearing?
Well, again, with a site plan, that's within your discretion. It's not a mandatory public hearing. While you have had public hearings for uses on and along Hoosick Road, you can take into account the fact that it's an existing tower with existing arrays on it, and this would be adding one. So a public hearing is within your discretion. It will need to go to the county. I gotta believe it's within 500 feet of the highway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but public hearing is within your discretion.
Just like a straw vote here. Do you think, I'm just gonna poll the members of the board, do you think it's really necessary to have a public hearing by adding one dish to an existing tower? I personally don't think it's, at this point, really necessary. Unless there's some structural things that Wayne has.
I may have a conflict with this application. The surveyor is Floyd Albert Associates, and I just signed on with them, so starting January 3, I'm employed by Floyd Albert.
So should we turn the engineering review over to Ron LaBerge?
Right, in that case, if there's the conflict, then the board has the right to retain an outside review engineer. If you choose to do that, you should make a motion to retain LaBerge Group. And the procedure then would be to send the application over to his office. He'll put together an estimate, and the applicant will fund an escrow account, and then the engineering review will take place.
Okay. So I guess it's up to, is it up to Wayne at this time to say he's going to recuse himself?
I think that's what I
I think
just heard.
said that.
Yes.
So I recuse myself on this application.
You were kind of going back and forth. Well, I might have to.
Well, it's a recent development.
Well, I know.
This was on the books 3 weeks ago, it wouldn't have made a difference.
All right. Then we should make a motion to retain outside engineering counsel.
And specifically LaBerge Group?
LaBerge. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And we will send that over to him. And do we want to put him on the agenda for our next meeting?
It's probably premature.
Okay.
Do you have the application electronically?
Pretty sure I do. If I don't, I certainly will get it. Yeah.
And then can you email that over to Ron? Good, thank you.
Just my quick glance at the structural, the proposed equipment doesn't match the plans that were provided, the elevations. So, I might want to look at that in detail.
That's how I came up with 5 carriers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
I'll check into that.
So they are basically on hold at this point. Is there anything else under new business?
That is it.
Okay.
See that?
Any old business? What is it? This packet we got from Nixon Peabody.
Oh, CBE. You really, that is the group from Rochester regarding the Bel Air Solar.
Yeah? Where are we with them?
So the town board has decided, and it will be noticed for the public hearing on the proposed zone change
Yeah,
at the town board's January meeting. So they'll have their public hearing to receive comments on the proposed zone change. And LaBerge Group is doing the engineering review on that application, and we'll be working on proposing a secret determination. That's then likely to happen at the February meeting. We'll have to get comments back from, if any, public comments, applicant response to those, and then I would anticipate action by the town board at the February meeting. So thereafter, they would likely be back in front of your board.
so they may not be here until the end of February, beginning of March.
It's possible unless there are no public comments and
Oh,
the
yeah.
board's ready to make a
That's gonna
secret
happen.
secret determination.
Okay.
I don't usually think things go that smoothly, but it could. But in more likelihood, the town board will be in a position to act at their February meeting.
Okay.
Where's the moratorium stand on the 2-family
It currently runs through March.
March?
So there is work being done on that.
Just as another thing under old business, I had mentioned this to Andy in our telephone conversation. I had an opportunity last couple of days to go up to Eagle Ridge, and they have erected the cell tower there. However, they only have the beginning sections on the top of the limbs for the tree. I was surprised that it wasn't as visible up in the cul-de-sac there where I think it was the McDonald residence was saying it was going to be in their backyard. But I think once they finish the exterior limb work and everything around it, it'll blend in very nicely. So if you ever get a chance driving by there, just take a ride up there and you'll see you got the beginning limbs and maybe the first top, I'm gonna say maybe 10 feet, just above the actual dishes. And now they're working their way down.
You can see it
They're
from the
wiring up the amplifiers, the arrays up top, and they just don't put the foliage down on the bottom because they're going up and down with,
Yeah.
and it's also a lot easier to, you've got the openings in the monopole to be able to hold a cable. So there's the last step will be once everything is wired, tested, they'll come down and I've got pictures of those, and it's much the same assembly of as you do with your color-coded Christmas tree lights. It's
Yeah.
the same darn thing. They have a nylon block in them where they set over the weldments onto the pole, and they're all color-coded. And they have a list of, green goes first, red, yellow, blue. It goes up the tree much that minute.
Gee, if they got it up earlier, they could put
The
decoration.
lights on it.
It's like one of those pre-lit trees. It's already in there. They just
Yeah.
turn it on. Light up.
How about Brunswick Acres? Any news with Brunswick Acres? Now, one thing I did see when I was going by there is where there was two trucks of geoengineers that they were pulled in there off of Route 2. So there's there's activity that's starting on that again.
Right now, the applicant has extended the time for the board to act through a date in April,
I believe it is March or April, yeah.
with giving them time to do additional work to determine whether the site can be balanced. I'm presuming that that's maybe the work that they're looking at now, trying to address that.
Hannaford? Anything on Hannaford?
Well, they're bringing soil in again, and, the soil proctors are coming out as they did before with compaction. I have not been down on the site just to see what the stability is. The only thing I have of that is the visual ability to see a truck drive over it or drive my pickup truck over and see what the indentation is of the tires. And, they were seeing that prior to their stoppage of work. And I don't know where they are now. It's the same soil it's going in with the same moisture contents, and the compaction numbers are coming out about where they are. So
You said they hit rock in the bottom of the detention pond?
where the retention pond is going to be, there is a rock outcropping there, yes. And they do have in the resolution, it was no blasting. So all mechanical means removal. So if they're going to have to blast, they're going to have to come back.
Anything else? Anybody has any questions?
Harbor Freight's getting their footings put in. They were very lucky in that all of the shale on that site was something they were able to pull up. It was all running right, so they were able to get that out of there a lot easier than, say, Cumberland Farms.
So I see a lot of blast mats down on Hoosier Street.
Yeah, it's
They
probably,
already blasted?
no. They are going to,
They have to
probably
put-
about a week and a half or 2 weeks
They
out.
have to provide notice, right?
Yes, they will provide notice, yes.
Okay, before we adjourn, I just want to review the agenda. I got Galavan coming back on the 6th. I have Borrego coming on the 20th. I have Vickers coming in on the 6th and Casey coming in on the 6th. 3 items for the 6th right now, 1 for the 20th. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what I had as well.
Okay. Okay, if there's no other further questions, I'll make a motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll see you on the 6th.
Yeah.
Do we need